Hello and welcome to the Teacher Chris Learn by Play piano series. This is lesson number 10 in the series. Now, if you're interested in piano lessons and you just happen upon this video, go ahead and click on my name down below there and check out my playlists. I have a playlist for adults that's an all ages playlist, then also one for the YouTube Kids app if you'd like one of your kids to use the YouTube Kids app to learn to play piano. I post these weekly, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell notification so you'll be notified every week when I post a new video on Mondays. So let's go ahead and get started with lesson number 10. So this week we are going to be looking at fourths. Now we did the seconds and we did the thirds already, but let's review why we call them seconds and thirds. So with seconds, we are going up one note. However, we count the note that we start on as number one. Like for instance, in the left hand, if we're going from a C to a D, we count the C as number one. And then we count the D as number two, and that would be a second. And then if we're going from like a C to an E, let's say, we have a C, a D, and then an E, and that would be called a third. It also goes the other direction as well. So if we're starting on, let's say, an F, we want to go down a third, that would be F, E, and then D, and that would be F to D would be a third. So now we're going to be diving into fourths. And let's go ahead and turn to page 44, play a fourth, and check out the top of the page. The first thing that we're looking at up here is that the left hand has two different fourths that it can play in C position. We have C to an F, that'd be C, D, E, F, going up, or F down to a D, that would be a fourth down. But then we also have D to a G, that would also be a fourth. And then a G down to a D would also be considered a fourth, and that's in the left hand. Same thing, of course, goes for the right hand. Right hand has C to an F, F to a C, that would be the fourth. Then also the D to a G and the G to a D. Now we can spot fourths right away because fourths are always going to be a line note and a space note. Then when we play it on the piano, it's actually like skipping a third, but we're actually skipping two fingers or two notes instead of just skipping over one note. So let's look at it on the keyboard here. So here's C position for both hands. And in the right hand here, I'm just going to go ahead and play a C. And then an F, and you'll notice I'm going to play them both at the same time here, that we're skipping over those two notes right there, the D and the E. So 1, 2, 3, fourth. And then also if we do D to G right here, that's skipping over these two notes and these two fingers. We have D, E, F, G, or 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's the interval of a fourth. Left hand, we also have C to an F here. That's a fourth, skipping over two notes, and then also D to G. Now, if we look at the first line right here, we start off the entire piece with fourths. We have a C to an F, back down to a C, back up to an F. Remember that the direction going C to F would be going up a fourth, but then the very next thing we have is an F going down to a C. That's also considered a fourth, going right back down to it again. Then we go right back up to it again. Then we go right back down to it again in the next measure. Then we can see right away the third. It's definitely staring us in the face because we have that line note C and then also that line note E, the next line note up. Those are really easy to spot right away. And we're skipping over one note there. We just have that third. And then the next measure, we have a couple of the same notes, then some seconds, and then a third, and then some seconds, and then a repeated note. There's a lot of stuff going on in this piece. Now, what I'd really like you to do this week is try to sight read just this line. Oftentimes when I'm learning a piece of music, I will start by sight reading it, but I won't sight read the entire piece. I'll just sight read a certain section, like the very first section, very first line or two of music. Try to figure it out, and then work on the next section and just start to piece it together that way. So what I'd like you to do is pause the video, try sight reading from the very beginning measure all the way to the fourth measure. It's the very first line of music, and I'll see you in a minute. So how'd you do on the sight reading? Thing is that you know what these notes are. You know how to read the actual letter names now. So that shouldn't be a problem for you. It's more just getting the fourth interval under your hand and feeling comfortable making that leap from your thumb to your fourth finger or your second finger all the way up to your pinky. So let's go ahead and try out this first line here. Let me play it for you and see how you did. So it starts with the right hand, of course, and it starts with finger number 1, which is your thumb on C. We have a C going up to an F, a C again, going up to an F, and then C, E, E, 2, and then C, C, D, E, G, F, F, 2. Now, one common mistake that is always made with sight reading is that you forget the rhythms. And that's something I do want you to make sure that you focus on. I'm not so worried about the fact that we have mezzo forte and then we have forte there. If you just play the entire thing mezzo forte or the entire thing forte or even the entire thing like piano, that's not a problem at all. Really, we're trying to get the right notes and then also the right rhythms. So making sure that you get the half note for 2 counts and the quarter note is only 1 count is very important when you're sight reading music. So pause the video, try out the second line sight reading it, make sure that you get the half notes as 2 counts, the quarter notes as 1 count. Don't worry so much about those dynamics, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so how did you do? You may have noticed that it's the same exact melody in the left hand there, if you got all the notes correct. Let me go ahead and play the second line now for you. We have a C with your 5th finger, our pinky, up to an F, C, up to an F, and then C, and then E, and then E again, E2, C, C, D, E, G, F, F2. Now this piece, just like the Mexican hat dance, isn't going to be one that I assign this week, but if you do want to try it out and practice it on your own, go for it. It's a good one to learn, and it'll really start you off right with those fourths. So let's turn the page to page 45 and check out July the 4th. Before we do anything else, I'd like to recognize where all those fourths are and see if we can circle them and find them in the music. Now, if you look at the first measure here, we have just 3 C's in a row. Then the next note we have is an F. Now remember, it doesn't really matter as far as fourths and thirds and seconds goes, whether or not it's in the same measure or it's going over to the next measure. And in this case, we have a C going to an F in the next measure, and we consider that a fourth interval. So if we continue on in the music, we have the F that we're on for 3 counts, and then it goes down a third to a D. That's a space note to a space note. We have some repeated Ds, and then we finally have another fourth here. And this fourth is a D going up to a G, and it's, again, going from one measure to the next measure. Still means it's an interval of a fourth. Then after that, you'll notice that we just have a bunch of seconds, and then a couple of repeated notes, and then at the very end of this line here, we have an F for 6 counts total. It's 3 counts plus a tie to another 3 counts. That makes that F 6 counts long total. Remember what we say whenever we get to anything like this is whatever the note is, the letter name, then we just start counting, and then when we get to the next measure, we start over on count 1 again. So it would be F, 2, 3, and then 1, 2, 3. Now, when we go to the left hand, we'll see that we start with a bunch of repeated notes yet again, and then we have that nice fourth interval from a C going up to an F, just like the top line there. Then we're going down a third. It's a line note to another line note. So we have some repeated notes. And then yet again, we have a D to a G, and that's going to be the other fourth in this line. Then if we continue on, we see some seconds, we see some repeated notes. And then finally at the very end, we have another tied F. And if we compare the letter names in the top line to the letter names in the bottom line, as far as the notes are concerned, they're exactly the same notes in both hands. So your right hand plays the melody, then your left hand plays the same exact melody, kind of like it's just echoing it or repeating it. Let's go ahead and play through this and see what it sounds like. So we have 3 C's in a row to start off with. C, 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 up a fourth to F, 2, 3. Now we go down a third to D, 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 and then we go up a fourth to G, 2, F, E, 2, E, E, D, E. Now this is the long note F, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Go to the left hand, we have a C with our 5th finger, C, 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 up to an F. There's our first fourth, 2, 3. Now we go down a third to D, 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 up a fourth to G, 2, and then to F, and then E, 2, E, E, D, E, and we get to an F, and we hold it for 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now this one doesn't have a repeat sign. We've had a lot of repeat signs lately, but there is none on this piece, so keep that in mind. The last thing I want to talk about, though, before you pause this and try it out, is how you play the repeated notes, because there's a lot of repeated notes. And by repeated notes, I mean the first 3 notes are just C, C, C. They're in a row. They're the same exact note repeated over and over again. And that's a lot different than actually playing 2 different notes. So when I play, like, let's say a D to an E, I'm in C position in my right hand, and I push down a D, and then all I have to do is switch fingers to go to an E. I just lift the D up and go to an E. So it's 2 to 3, like that. But when I'm trying to play a repeated note, it's actually a different hand action. The action is a lot different. You actually have to lift a little bit with your wrist and with your finger in order to get the right note. So keep that in mind when you're playing repeated notes. It's a whole different action. It might mess you up a little bit at first, so you have to really think about it. Let's look at what I do with just C's alone. So here's a C right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lift my whole wrist up when I play, and that actually lifts my thumb a little bit when I play that C. So C, C, C. And then I go to an F, 2, 3. And then when I get to the D, I'm going to play the D, and I'm just switching fingers when I go to the D. But then I lift my whole wrist, D, D, and then I'm just switching fingers again to G. And then when we go to the F and then to the E here, here's a bunch of E's. We have E, 2, lift, E, E, D, E, and then F, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So pause the video now and try this whole entire piece out. But keep in mind what your hand and your wrist are doing when you try these repeated notes. You may find that it is a very different feeling under the fingers when you're playing repeated notes versus just going from one note to a different note. And I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I hope I didn't get into your head by making you think too much about what your fingers are doing. I think it's really important, though, to think about the mechanics of the hand. What I mean by that is how each finger is moving and how the wrist is moving. We'll get into more hand posture as this series goes on. It's really important to really think about playing with the fingertips, making sure your fingers are very curved, then also how each note is played and whether you're using the correct hand posture to get the right notes. Okay, so let's go ahead and move ahead to the next one here. We have Old Uncle Bill on page 46. So we're going to sight read this piece right away. Try out the very first line just like we did in Play a Fourth. But I'm going to show you one of the measures because it's something new that we haven't seen before. If we look at measure 2 here, we have your 4th finger playing an F right here for 3 counts. And your left hand is going to come in with a harmonic second. It's F and G, fingers 1 and 2 at the same time. But they don't play at the same time like we did with sea divers or with rockets. Instead, what's going to happen is on the first count, we have the F, and then count 2 and 3 are going to be F and G, and then F and G at the same time, but you're holding the right hand while you do it. It'll sound something like this. And that'll equal 3 whole counts if you get it correct. We have F, 2, 3. You'll notice it happens again at the very end of the line here. We have that G at the very end there. Go ahead and give you the answer to that one. That's what that note is. We have a G. Then on the left hand, we have that harmonic third that we've seen before. And the G plays first and just holds 1, 2, 3 counts. So pause the video, try out just that first line, see if you can sight read it, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, let me play it for you now and let's see how you did. We had a G to start off with in the right hand here, and you may have noticed that it's just a group of thirds in that first measure. We have a G going down to the line note E, going down to the line note C, and then we go up a fourth to F here, F, 2, 3, and then we have a D, E, F, and then G while we play E and G in the left hand. Now, pause the video, try the next line out, but let me warn you that there's a new interval in the left hand, that fourth, but it's going to be a harmonic fourth. See if you can figure out what it is, see if you can construct it, and I will see you in a minute. Now let me play you the second line here, just see if you got any of that correct. So we have a G, just like we started in the first line here with finger number 5 in the right hand, and we have thirds going down. So we have G, E, C. And when we get to this F here, this is where the fourth happens in the left hand. It's fingers 1 and 4. They help you out with that. And then we have just an F, E, D, C chord, and this is a third in the left hand right here, 1 and 3. Let me play the entire piece now and show you what it sounds like. So again, starting with the right hand, we have G, E, C, F, and then a second, and then D, E, F, and then G, and then this third in the left hand, and then G, E, C, F. Now we have a fourth. And then we have F, E, D, and then we have C while we hold thirds. Now there is a repeat sign on this piece, but I want to point out something new that you haven't seen before we do the repeat sign. We have a very tiny little blue box right here talking about the F-P. And what they mean by F-P is the first time you play through the first 2 lines, you play it nice and loud, forte, and then on the repeat, you play it piano or soft. Also, the lyrics kind of help out with that and kind of make the loud and the soft make sense. So for lyrics, we have Old Uncle Bill lived on a hill. If he's not gone, he lives there still. And then quietly we say, I love Old Bill, I always will. I'll bet he's still up on that hill. Now, when you play a piece of music that has forte or piano in it, remember that we're doing that to portray some sort of emotion. So with piano means soft, but with a soft piece of music, it could mean that you're sad, or maybe you're playing something kind of spooky and eerie. Or maybe it could be that you're just trying to be quiet and delicate because it's a very delicate, very pretty piece of music. Same thing goes for forte. Forte can mean that you're playing kind of angrily, like you're trying to play something that is sounding angry, or maybe it just means it sounds very excited or very energized. So those emotions you can put into music when you're playing, and you can write them in if you're writing your own piece of music with forte or piano or some of the other musical symbols that we'll learn along the way. Let's pull out the assignment pad and write down our assignment this week. So this week, you were not assigned play a fourth, but if you'd like to play through it a little bit more, go for it. It's a great piece to learn, and it really does practice those fourth intervals. For July the 4th, I recommend that tomorrow and maybe even the next day, you sight read again, just the first line, then the second line. Remember, it's not officially sight reading, but it is looking at it with fresh eyes the next day. So go ahead and try it out the first line and practice it a little bit, and then try out that second line, practice it a little bit. Make sure that you are counting when it comes to all of the different rhythms that are in this piece. There are dotted half notes and there are half notes strewn throughout the entire piece. Don't forget to count those. Also, make sure that you hold those tie notes for 6 counts total. Remember, what you're going to say is F2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's very important to do that because otherwise your part will not line up with my duet part. Now on page 46, we have Old Uncle Bill. Make sure that you do the repeat sign and remember to change dynamics on the second time around from forte to piano. It's really important on this piece. Up next, we have the play-alongs for Play a Fourth and Old Uncle Bill, and also the duets for it. Let's go ahead and try those out. One, ready, play. C, 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 F, 2, 3, D, 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 G, 2, F, E, 2, E, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, C, 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 F, 2, 3, D, 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 G, 2, F, E, 2, E, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. One, ready, play. One, ready, play. C, 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 F, 2, 3, D, 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 G, 2, F, E, 2, E, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, C, 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 F, 2, 3, D, 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 G, 2, F, E, 2, E, E, D, E, F, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, ready, play. One, ready, play. G, E, C, F, second, second, D, E, F, G, third, third, G, E, C, F, fourth, fourth, F, E, D, C, third, third, G, E, C, F, second, second, D, E, F, G, third, third, G, E, C, F, fourth, fourth, F, E, D, C, third, third. One, ready, play. One, ready, play. G, E, C, F, second, second, D, E, F, G, third, third, G, E, C, F, fourth, fourth, F, E, D, C, third, third, G, E, C, F, second, second, D, E, F, G, third, third, G, E, C, F, fourth, fourth, F, E, D, C, third, third. One, ready, play. This concludes Lesson 10 of the Teacher Chris Learn by Play piano series. Hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you next week.